Hello.
Good morning.
Hi.
How's everybody?
Good.
Great. I'm doing fine. It's a beautiful day. How's everyone else doing?
I'm good.
Because we're just waiting for Marie. I'm not sure if Merlene's going to join us. I didn't get a confirmation from her, and I don't think that Richard. I don't think that Pat will join us this morning. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But I think that once Marie is here, the four of us make are important to this brief conversation.
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was muted.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're all here. Um, the purpose for today's meeting is just to be clear about why we're meeting uh, at City Hall, and also somewhat get a sense of what we'll cover. So, Richard, I did get to read what you have put together the last two things you put together. But I think for the purpose of and please everybody jump in if you feel that you have a difference of opinion or whatever. But for the purpose of getting together next, we are actually looking to put together what our presentation will be to the general committee. And as was mentioned in the past, I think that we were thinking that a separate policy would be covered by each member of the group. And so
I lose you. I lost you. Is it me or is it something else?
you lost me, then it must have been you. Hello?
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Can you hear us? I think you have a problem, Janice. So let me just continue on until she's able to join back with us. So I think that we were thinking that there'd be a policy that would be covered to present to the general committee, or it could be a couple of policies covered by each individual to the committee. I think that the amount of detail that we go into within what we've discovered so far may be too much for the general committee to consume. And I think that when we get together at our next subcommittee meeting, which is at City Hall, that we actually know who's going to cover which policy and procedure for the general meeting, and just generally how we're going to go through that.
Okay.
How does that sound? Does that make sense to you?
It does, Bernie, but can we just like go through what each of those policies is?
I think, yeah, that in terms of what we're going to present, or in terms of all of the policies that we've covered, I'm not clear.
Well, in terms of what we're going to present, so that we
Okay.
can decide which of us is going to cover
Yes.
which policy.
Yes, I agree that does make sense. So, and so how do we start this? So, Marie, would you like to speak to which policy you feel that you would want to present? And I think
Well-
it's, yes.
Well, before we do that, I just want to talk about, like, we don't have to talk about them, but go through each policy. Like, we have body cams, field stops, firearms. So which ones are we actually, before I were to choose or you were to choose, I would just suggest that we, clarify exactly which policies we're talking about.
Okay, so do you have any preference on which ones we should cover? I think that the body cam, which we've spoken of, the field stops, and what was the other one, Richard, that you had down?
Response to resistance.
Yep.
Is one, and I think
Well, there's discharge of firearms.
yeah.
We also
Okay,
had the
so
strip search.
yes.
So
but,
there's we had some comments about body worn cameras, about field stops, about response to resistance, and I just sent one to you on unbiased policing. So I mean, I haven't gone through everyone, and I know we talked about a lot of these. In fact, we talked about all of them, but you know, there's a lot to be said about a lot of these policies.
So the first three that you just mentioned, at least those three should be inclusive to our presentation. I think that in general, just let me step back from it. I think that all of the policies that we've covered, we should have documentation to present at the end of the day for the body of work that we've done, and that we be prepared to submit that. However, for the purpose of the presentation, we should focus on what we may feel are the, let's say, the top 3 or 4 or 5 even of those policies. And I think that Richard, you mentioned 3, and Marie, you mentioned the same 3, which was the body cam, the field stops, and was it the use of excessive force, or was it the
It's called response to resistance, I think.
response to resistance? So would we so far agree that those are at least 3 of the top
Yeah.
policies that we would
I'm
cover?
looking at the booklet that we got in the beginning, you know, the policy booklet. And from what I could see there's like 6, you know, main policies, and that's the body cams, field stops, response to resistance, unbiased policing, firearms, and personnel complaints.
Okay, so I think that that's those, as you mentioned, those are, I think, what we should cover.
Okay.
What
I
do you
mean,
think, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, there were some other things that we had some comments about, but certainly those are important. I know that when we talked about firearm policy, we had some comments, but I don't remember what they were, and I haven't looked at that one carefully.
And I think that for all of the policies that we have covered or will cover, even if we haven't, that'll go into our general submission when we submit all of our policy findings back. But for the purpose of the presentation, that these are the ones that we cover, and these are the ones that we have a discussion about on at our face-to-face meeting. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, yeah. Janice, are you still with us?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
That we are going to review the 6 or 7 that we got in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, for our presentation to the general committee, but that all of the policies that we've looked at or covered, that we will have some comment to or presentation for in the general body of everything that we present back to the group. But it's
I have a quick question. When are we expected to do that? To report back to the whole
I think that it's supposed to be done as per what Karen said by the 15th, or at least that we should be getting there by the 15th. And I think that from all that I've seen and all that we've covered, I think that can be done. So after we have our next meeting, I think that once we have that meeting, we will be actually in line to comment on these things. I think that I've seen stuff in writing from us, and I know that I've seen things that I believe that we could get there, that we will have documentation to present from our findings. We may
What do you
need
mean
to,
when you say, what do you mean when you say documentation? What do you,
well, there are certain areas that we've commented on in the policies that we've gone through that we've made comment that should be changed or should be altered or should be added to.
okay,
And I
so you're
think
saying
that,
recommendations. We'll have
yes,
recommendations. Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
All
Okay.
right. Now, in general, I want to cover the overall issue of that there needs to be changes to policies across the board. And I'd like to be able to present that to the general committee. And there are particular things about the policies in general that exist that I think that are missing, that exist across all of the policies that I think we need to point to. I will present that to you guys at our face-to-face meeting so that you can see exactly where I'm talking and what I'm talking about. An example is that there is no civilian complaint review process. It's all wrapped into this personnel policy and or personnel complaint policy. And I think that in my opinion, is not clear enough in terms of allowing a public to have a method to understand clearly how they complain about an activity with a police officer or police officers or with the department in general. But that will just be a note. I won't make specific recommendations as to what they should be, but just that is something that's missing.
Will you
Okay.
eventually make recommendations as to what that will be?
I can give example to what that will be, yes.
Okay.
So
Um,
since Richard put together all this response to resistance, maybe Richard can take that one. Richard?
What was
Okay,
that again?
No, he put together this nice outline on response
Yes.
to resistance. So
Yes.
maybe that's the one that he should take. I don't care what I do, whatever you guys want me to take, I will.
Well, let's go through it. So what was Marie, you had down the list, so let's just go down the list and pick them.
Okay. Well, there's body cams.
You want to take
Fields.
that one?
It's fine with me unless somebody has strong feelings about it.
And so you have body cams.
I'll do body
and-
cams.
Okay, and Richard has, we just mentioned,
response to resistance.
response to resistance. And then what's the next one?
Well, field stops.
Janice, do you want to take the field stops one?
Well, I really was looking forward to working with response to resistance, but I can't, but we're going to work together with all of these once we bring them to the group. So,
Yes.
I mean,
But what I thought would be good, well, we can hammer that out once we're face to face. It's just that it'd be good if each of the policies were covered by someone so that we knew that they were,
right.
at least mentioned.
Okay.
I mean, there is some overlap, with
Yeah.
with
I
some
mean,
of these.
I did want response to resistance, but as long as we're going to all get a chance
No,
to put
that's
some.
fine. I mean,
No, I can also do, Marie, you're doing cameras. I can do, I guess I can do, did someone say field stops?
yeah, that's one of the ones we should do.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Janice, do you want to do unbiased policing? I mean, that kind of overlaps a lot with the excessive force, I think.
well, I mean, we're all going to have input in everything, so nothing's
Okay.
going to go without having input from the group. So,
But I think, Janice, that we should be clear so that when we sit together, we know that we've covered
Right.
the topic correctly.
I mean,
So if one of us is responsible for those, for one of the policies, then we know it will be covered, and it's not just that, we forgot to mention something. So that's where it'd be kind of good to cover it in that way. So I would envision that when we're presenting to the general body, that we may say field stops, and then Richard will start to talk about what the field stop issues are, or whomever has that topic, for example. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Um,
Does that make sense? I just think that it would be
Well, I mean, I
versus.
had kind of thought that only you would be giving the recommendations, but if you want to have each one of us at the general meeting do whatever we choose, whichever topic we choose, I mean, that's okay too.
Well, I do feel that for what we have done as a group, because it has been so data intense, that it makes sense to me that they that the general body understands the complexity of what we have covered, and that will come across in the fact that all of us will have an opportunity to present that. Now,
Okay.
if everybody wants me to, I could just present them, but I do feel that there's value in showing that that our committee worked together on this in this way, and it's not just one person giving the presentation. I can start out and say, these are the things that we've generally found,
Well, I'm
and
gonna
then
call
move
on
from
you,
person to
and
person.
I'm gonna call on you to give the recommendations, and how you decide to do it will be up to you. If you want to if you want to have each one of your committee members give a summary or recommendations, that's how you want to do it, then that's fine.
Yes, I think that giving the voice to the members in the committee make a difference to me as to how we are heard. Good. So we have 3 of those policies covered. If you like, I could cover the policy for personnel complaint, because it just goes right in line with not having a policy for civilian direct. Okay.
Well, what about we're missing who? Pat and Merlene?
Yeah, I think that Pat will not be able to read through or make comment to any of the policies that we have gone through. I think that from my last speaking to Karen, there's a
Conflict of
notice that has
interest.
come down from the district attorney that the DAs are not able to directly or participate in making policy comments, that they can be of
Okay.
assistance in clarifying and directing, giving direction to, but not to make comment on policy.
Hello, I lost you for a minute. My Wi-Fi went out.
Okay, so the question was asked whether Patrick could present one of the policies, and I think that from what I understand, there's a notice that came down from the DA that that any of the assistant DAs involved or in any of the police reform activities cannot make comment to the adjustment of policies or procedures. They can give guidance to and give clarity to the process or the procedures, but not to comment on or seem to make adjustments to any of the policies that exist. So Patrick cannot participate in this way that we may be making comment or recommendations about policies.
Bernie,
Yes.
it's Karen. Yeah, so just so that everybody is aware, the mayor's office received a letter from the district attorney's office this past week. And this letter was not just specific to White Plains. It went out to every mayor or supervisor in the county that is also working on police reform. And the letter basically indicates that that the district, they understand that the district attorney's office is supposed to participate based on the governor's guidance. And just to further clarify that their policy is that they will have the local branch chief or other designated ADA participate on a limited basis. They will be available to consult with on issues germane to their roles as prosecutors. They cannot draft policies or procedures or vote on any matters that may come before the committee. So this is the guidance that we are receiving from the district attorney's office, and it would apply to obviously Patrick, who represents that office.
Okay. Karen, I have a quick question. Is that the
Sure.
current DA or the incoming DA?
This is the current DA.
Okay.
This is the current DA.
Do we have this letter? I think this letter should be published to the committee at large.
I have the letter.
Great. I think that the committee should know about this letter.
Okay, so we have, so back to our task at hand. If there are any other questions about that issue or topic, we can continue discussing it. But do we, so we have four of the policies so far covered of the 6 or 7 that we said were important.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to take notes. Who's doing field stops?
I am.
You are, okay, Janice. Response to resistance is Richard. Unbiased policing. Anyone?
So should we, yeah. We could take 2, I mean,
Well,
each.
okay, is Marlene, want to be in this too?
I would, let's assume that she is, and then when we get together at the mayor's office, if she's not able to participate, then we'll just reassign it to one, because I don't think that there's, it's a tremendous amount of information that has to be presented from that. So let's say, yeah.
The committee, Bernie, since Marlene joined the committee later, you may want to ask her to review one of the policies, make sure that she was on the committee when a certain policy was discussed. So not necessarily one of the earlier policies that were reviewed where she didn't have the benefit of the discussion around that one. That's just my suggestion. She might feel more comfortable if she participated in the discussion.
I understand.
I mean, how can we
We're losing you, Richard.
get in touch with her and see what she wants to do?
Yeah, so right now, let's just say tentatively, we give her this policy. When we meet face to face, I will call her ahead of time and even send email to her ahead of time and text to try to have her respond to if she would like to do that. And if it's not the case, then one of us could pick up that particular policy when we see each other face to face. I don't think that there's a tremendous amount of work in having to do that from reviewing the policies. Okay? So we have 4 of the policies. We have 5 of the policies now. Marlene has 1. There's the 6th one left open, which is what, Marie?
Wait, what did we say? What did you assign Marlene?
What was the last one you mentioned?
It was either unbiased policing or firearms, both of
It was
those.
unbiased policing.
Okay, so we'll give that to Marlene.
I wrote something about that. I just sent it out to you.
Okay. And
this is where, they talk about what the definition of racial profiling, and there's another issue with when officers should intervene when somebody's.
Richard, then, being that you have commented on that, would you take that one also?
Sure.
Because there's something that pertains to case law that you have noted in the one that you sent out that I just saw, that I read that you had, and I think that it makes a lot of sense that you cover that.
Well, yeah, not in the unbiased policing one. So what I had done was, with respect to field stops, I had talked about Terry versus Ohio, and stuff involving what's permitted for certain types of searches, and then
Yes.
in the response to resistance, there was this reference in the actual policy to this objective reasonableness standard, and so there's a couple of different things, but in the unbiased policing thing that I sent out today, because I looked at that again today, it's it just has to do with whether the wording should be targeting a person exclusively on the person's race, as opposed to just saying targeting a person based on the individual's race. I mean, so there's just a couple of things. It's not complicated on bias policing, I think.
Okay.
I mean, these are not, these things that I pointed out, other members of the committee may find other things that I missed that could be corrected, but I'm happy to review. I mean, I did now 4 of them, and there's other ones to do. I mean, there's the strip search policy that we thought needed work. There's a lot of these.
So as we said, that of the initial policies that we had mentioned, there were 6 or 7. Right now, we have identified, I think, 5 of those policies that we're going to cover in our presentation.
I'll put them in the chat. Can you guys go through them once again, the assignments, so that
Yes,
everybody's clear? I have a couple. Field
Marie,
stops for
you had
Janice.
them down.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So field stop, Janice. Response.
Response resistance, Richard.
Okay. And okay, I'll do body cams.
Okay.
And I'm doing the personnel complaint.
Okay.
And we were assigning what to Merlene?
I had
Unbiased
unbiased policing.
Okay, so I think at this point, we could spend the entire session of the general meeting, and Karen, you have to give us some direction, and Janice, you have to give some direction. Is it that you want us to cover the entire meeting, or because I think it's very detailed stuff that we have to cover, or are we going to cover a portion of that meeting? How much do you want us to cover?
Well, do you remember how we did it the last time? I think
Yes.
Wade gave us, and also I think Reverend Trollinger.
Trollinger.
Yes.
So, I mean, we probably would need more time than they did, but
it would be nice
I
to be
mean,
able to get another report in. I know another member
we
wants to
may.
report.
I mean, I'll ask you first, but I mean, if if we can get another one in, that would be good.
Patrick
So-
indicated to me he'd be ready to report.
Who's Pat?
So
Oh,
I think that-
Patrick Shelley.
Okay.
So I think that we'll be ready to report, as I said, but I don't think that we should cover all of the policies in our presentation to the group, that we should have that ready and possibly in writing, but that we only cover the ones that we're talking about now that we know that we're going to identify when we meet face to face, because it's just a lot of stuff to unpack. I think that at some point we could overwhelm the general meeting, or even those that are involved, because it's a lot of stuff. Even as we start to go through one of them now, we start to recognize that there's things that we need to uncover.
When is
Bernie,
the next meeting?
The next meeting is, I think, December 7th, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Yes.
the next general membership meeting?
Correct, and I believe that's at noon. So Bernie, are you proposing that the presentation of the policies and procedures subcommittee be made over 2 meetings of the full committee or 2 or more meetings of the full committee?
It can be made over 2 separate meetings. I just don't think that we should try to cover all of this in one, or that we do one presentation giving an understanding of the things that we went through and the things that we have that we've made comment to in the policies that we have just mentioned, and that all other information come in writing to the general committee, and that the general committee can review all of what we've said in writing. Because I have not, I just think that what we got back from Wade was just, it wasn't the full presentation of all that they had gone through. I just felt that I got a general overview of what work they had been going through and where they had gotten to. I didn't think that that was the full recommendation of that they were finished with that
No,
recommendation.
it wasn't. It was an overview of
Yeah,
what
and so
they've done. They had,
that's what I think that
and
we're
that's what
doing. Yeah,
yeah.
and our presentation is just an overview.
And
Right, so
also,
why
it's
do we
also,
need more than 1 meeting to do the overview?
Oh, I think that we could do the overview of the 6 policies that we're talking about in one meeting.
can we
Great.
do it in 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, I think we could get through this in 25 minutes. Once we sit down at City Hall, I think that we can get through this in 25 minutes or so.
Also, the point of bringing it to and my understanding is the point of bringing it to the general membership is so that they can also give us more input. You know, if they hear us out and say things, or, you know, let us know if they have any feelings about it, because in the end, we're all going to have to pretty much agree with, I think we're all going to have to pretty much agree with what we want to ask for.
And
Is that
I
correct,
think
Karen?
Well, right. I mean, I would think that the recommendations that are put forward for the council to consider
Right.
you would need the majority
Yeah.
support of the committee.
Right. That's what I was
And
thinking.
you know, obviously you'd want to look for as much consensus as possible.
Right.
well,
Right.
I could say just from what I heard from Wade, there's nothing that he said that I think that I want to fully agree with. I need more information and detail as to what they were talking about. And the same thing from
Well,
Reverend Trollinger. So I don't think it was complete. I thought that they were going
right.
to
Well, that's
provide me
we're
with
gonna have.
I thought they were going to provide me with a document that I can read and then say, oh yeah, I understand this better than just getting a verbal presentation from someone. I thought that, is that the case, Karen, that we're going to get these?
You know, I think that there's still going to be time for us to talk and exchange information. I think there's definitely, that's why we're trying to do this now, because I would like to have several meetings where we're talking and exchanging information and ideas, you know, and then we're going to come up with some final thoughts. But we have
Yeah.
to bring it to the group and hear and, you know, what they're saying. You know, I don't think that anything right now is going to be written in stone. You know, we're just going to start making them. And then,
And so with that in mind, Karen and Janice, I think that we should do this over a couple of meetings. So we present the 4 or 5 policies that we've just covered, and then in the next meeting we will look to cover additional policies or procedures.
well, Karen,
I
how
actually
about,
disagree.
okay, what do you think?
I think that for December 7th, the Policies and Procedures Committee should be prepared to do a 25-minute presentation that provides an overview that includes all of the, what were they, 7 or so policies that you've been focused on over the last couple of months, knowing that these are preliminary recommendations, but at least be able to provide the full committee with an overview of your recommendations with regard to these 7 or so policies. And then the purpose of this is not to get into the nitty-gritty detail of it, but to provide a pretty good overview. For this policy, we're thinking X, Y, and Z. For that policy, blah, blah, blah. And the committee, the full committee will have some discussion about that. but I don't, for this first go around, I don't see why you could not present all of your policies that you've been working on. I don't see why not. It's just it's an overview. The point is not to get into on this line of the policy, we're looking to change this word, and this line we need to provide, we're big picture recommendations.
Okay.
And those will
So-
continue to be finessed and detailed. But I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be able to give that overview and that it shouldn't include all the policies.
Right, I agree. So would this mean that like each of us would, take our whatever section or policy and say present it for like 5-10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes each?
I think that's too much.
Well,
I think that's too much. I think that
well, 5 minutes
from,
each. We have to, if we're allotted 20-25 minutes, then I guess we would each, I mean, some of them are going to be more detailed, like response to resistance, firearms, but others may not be. I mean, and Bernie, yours might be longer because if you're going to take an overview of everything plus personnel.
I believe me, I think that I can get through what I have to say in less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, Karen, I agree with you. Okay, so we'll have everything done on a preliminary report of all the policies that we're going to present. We'll have that ready on December 7th.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we are meeting though this Tuesday at City Hall
At 5 o'clock. And if I'm not there by 5 after, please begin to start without me. I will be there as soon as I can, as close to 5 o'clock as possible.
Okay.
I will be coming from New Rochelle, and 5 o'clock worked for the majority of the group, but it was cutting it a little close for me. But I will be there, so please don't hold up the meeting for me. I'll be there as soon as I can, as close to 5 as possible. Maybe 5. Maybe 10 after, I don't know, but
Okay.
I'll be there. But I'll definitely be there.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I
Have you-
think we're,
We have a place to work from. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Actually, I do have one quick question. So,
yeah.
Do we have some
If I'm
other
going to-
policies?
Marie,
Wait.
what did you say?
oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So if I'm going to take the policy regarding body cams, is it okay? I mean, I think some of this stuff that we were given is outdated. So I guess, would it be okay if I contacted one of the officers to get updated policy?
So why don't we ask for that officially, though, if you feel we need updated policies? For all of the policies that we have, we should make sure that they're updated and we have them available for that meeting, face-to-face meeting. And so Karen, so for all of the policies that we have, those that we've been submitted, the 7 that, we're going to report to the general body, can you make sure that we have the most current update to that submitted back to us?
I will check and confirm with the chief, but
I think that
I
we
believe
have.
that he has sent you
Yeah,
the most current versions of these policies.
I believe you're right.
I don't think that he would be sending you outdated versions. He's sending you the most current versions. And some of these, as you say, may need to be updated, and they may look like, oh boy, it's been maybe some time since they have been updated, but I think he sent you the most current versions of what they have.
Okay, Marie?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good.
I think we have to assume that.
I do too. Especially since we've gone through all that we've gone through.
That said, Marie, if you have a question with regard to, for example, the body worn camera policy, I think that you should feel free to follow up directly by email with Chief Castelli. I know that other committee members have, in other subcommittees, have reached out to him on specific issues. So I
And,
can't
and,
imagine that he would have any problem with that.
and
Okay.
Marie, if you have any question, please don't just pose it to Chief Castelli. Please include us as CC so that
Okay.
we are clear as to what any of us have as question. Okay? I'd
Absolutely.
appreciate. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Hi. So, I spent some time going over 4 of the policies so far in detail. So we have some other policies to go through. So if somebody else wants to jump in and sort of put down some specific thoughts about these policies that we haven't, or even the ones that we did, but certainly the ones we haven't covered so far, in the writings that I sent around, it would be really helpful. Like there are other policies like the firearms policy, like the strip search policy that we had thoughts about. I know maybe the video recording policy. There are some other policies that we have. And so, I can keep plugging away at it, but it'd be helpful if, some of the other committee members would, write to us about, the ideas that they have for some of these other policies, and that, that we could see what other people have to think about them.
Right. Right. I have some ideas about the firearms policy, so I could, cover some of that too. I don't think anybody else is.
Great.
Okay.
Great. That's just a suggestion.
All right, so
Okay.
I've been looking at all of them myself. I have comments. So when we get there and we talk,
Which is
we're going,
for clarity's sake, and so that we have some understanding of uniformity and be able to present them, which is why I put that table together. So if and I'm Richard, I know that you commented on that. There's just you felt that it didn't fit into the table. When I looked at what your comments were, I do think that they do fit. It may be a lot of textual comment that you provided, but I do think that they do fit into that. It just helps having some uniformity behind how we're going to present this total body of work that we've gone through to the process itself. So, but I think that we could cover that on the day that we get together face to face. But let us continue to proceed ahead, as you said, with those policies, because I think that there are the group of policies that we were given by the chief initially, and then there are additional policies that we either asked for or had reason to comment on further. So we need to understand that also. So we have not only the 7, but we could have about, I think, 10 to 12 policies or so in total. So let us identify. First, we had said that as we go through the presentation, that we want to somewhat cover all those policies. But as you said, if we're going to take 5 minutes for each of those policies, and we have about 10 or 12 of them, it's going to take an hour's worth of time. And
I don't think it's going to take 5 minutes for each one.
Okay, so when we sit down, we can identify that when we do our face-to-face meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
I got one question, Karen.
Yeah.
What is your estimate, your best guess as to when we should have our final recommendations? What's your thought on that? Oh, I know we don't know for sure.
I think it would be great if the committee could have its quote final recommendations by mid-January.
Gotcha.
Then don't forget, before it's presented to the council, it's got to be put out for public comment. And the guidance doesn't specify for how long, but I
Gotcha.
think that maybe, you know, a couple of weeks would be
Right.
appropriate.
Gotcha.
I don't think anything more than 2 weeks is really needed. 1 week might be too short.
Mhm.
So then you've got to see if you receive any comments,
Right.
go back, assess those, determine if any further changes are going to be needed. And then after that, you know, really finalize the document and so that it can be shared with the council.
Gotcha. That sounds reasonable. Okay.
All righty. Very
All
good,
right.
everybody. Unless there are any other comments?
One more question. When are we meeting again after Tuesday? What's the next time we're meeting after Tuesday? Are we going to do next Sunday? Are we doing every Sunday?
I think that we still have things to kind of flush out, and I would
There's a
say
lot.
that we should. I would like to leave next Sunday open to meet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
fine. Sundays are good for me.
Sunday at 10:30 is best for me. So we'll
Okay.
see. All right.
Good.
All right. Everybody
Thank you,
enjoy the rest
everyone.
of their day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Same to
All
you.
right, guys,
Bye-bye.
take care. Bye.